It's Taurus season. If you are wondering what this season has in store for you, keep watching. We are going to use the power of the tarot and the oracle and your Tarotscope to figure that out. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Leesa. I'm a certified tarot consultant whose goal is to help you leverage the power of the tarot and make your life amazing. And on this channel, I do pick a card readings, Tarotscope readings like this one, meditations, deck walkthroughs. So if you haven't subscribed or if you're new here, definitely hit the like button and the subscribe button so that you will not miss the monthly and seasonal polls and so that you can keep up as new videos come out. So today, guys, we are going to take a look at the upcoming Taurus season. As a Taurus sun myself, I'm so excited, right? This is like coming home for me during this time of year. But no matter what sun sign you are, we want to take a look at what this season has in store for you. And I have a link to a video down below. I'll put there. If you've never done one of these Tarotscopes before, I would suggest that you pop over there first and foremost. Make sure that you have a good understanding of how these work. Basically, the idea is that you would follow your sun, moon, and rising sign to get a combined personalized tarot reading for you for this particular season. So in the first part of the video, guys, I will be simply talking a little bit about Taurus season in general and what everyone can tend to expect from the season of Taurus. And I will go ahead and pull a card. Today I am using the Alchemist Tarot, the 4th edition, and that is what we'll be doing for those card pulls. So you will be able to go through your sun, moon, and rising, or whatever other sides you're watching and paying attention to, and you will get that personalized tarot reading for you. And then after that, in the second part of the video, I'm going to be using the Spirit Animal Oracle deck, and we will go ahead and have one card from that. You're going to use your intuition at that point, actually, to determine where that energy is currently focusing on in your life. So really 2 parts there. So I would say, go ahead, grab your tarot journals if you have not already, and let's go ahead and get started. So taking a look at Taurus. Taurus season, guys, we're talking about a time, Taurus itself is about fixed earth. So I know many Taurans get, this idea that many Taurans are very stubborn, but really the idea is, if you think about, earth as an element, it's this idea of holding, it's this idea of oftentimes containing things. Oftentimes it's very slow moving. And then a fixed sign on top of that, you're talking about really holding on to things and really not having things move ahead. So what we typically see during this time of year, which is probably good coming off of Aries season, is we see oftentimes a much more measured approach to things. We see a very methodical way of looking at things, stubbornness, loyalty, inability to shuffle apparently. But stubbornness and loyalty, those are all things that are sort of related to this time of year. So it's a great time of year for starting things that you want to last for a long time. And it's a great time of year to really continue some of those things that maybe you started during Aries season and you need to move ahead with. One thing that often gets lost with Taurans, people get so focused on the facts that they're fixed earth that they forget the fact that Taurus is ruled by Venus. So Venus, we have this beautiful planet focused on beauty, focused on, sensory or sensual things. And Taurus season is really all about tapping into the more physical side of Venus, or that idea of, tapping into things or indulging in physical senses. So really good food or really lush fabrics or anything along those lines. So those are all things dealing with Taurus season. So I would expect for many of us, we'd be tapping into that inner Venus and as well as really, moving ahead with a lot of things that we are hoping to continue with during this time. So I have shuffled the deck. It is all set to go. I'm going to ask that you go ahead and move to the appropriate sign for you. The timestamps are down below. And once you're done with that, I'll see you at the end of the video with our oracle reading. All right, so let's start with Aries. Okay, Aries, what do we have for you? Wow, okay, so we have the King of Staffs. So moving forward for you, Aries, I love how you get this very fiery this very fiery card. For you, a very fiery sign. And, when I think about a king and the energy of the king, I'm thinking about someone that has achieved or has gotten to a level that they want to get to. This idea of Taurus being sort of a holding pattern, what I would say is, now is a good time if you have something where you've been pushing really hard. This is going to be a good season for you to perhaps coast, or maybe not coast, but at least kind of be in that holding pattern. So think about some projects or some things that you've been working on where you have been hoping to, you've been making a big push. I would say this is a good time of year, this season, for you to stop pushing and just maintain. Make sure you have everything kind of where it needs to be, and you're ready to move forward, but you're not pushing too hard. So kind of a stable energy. That's what I would look at first and foremost. All right, Taurus. And if this is your sun sign, happy birthday, Taurus. But let us see what we get. Okay, so we get the Ace of Swords, but reversed. So when I see this, this is not always a happy card. I don't love to see this reversed. I'd much rather see it upright. So when I see it reversed, guys, I'm seeing a bit of that energy dealing with thoughts or communication really being stymied or held back. So what I might suggest for those of you that are Taurans, and whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, of course, is going to indicate kind of where this is coming through. But Taurans oftentimes have this ability or this natural tendency to sort of think and overthink or wait and maybe not move when they should be moving. And so when I see a card that's about communication and thought and all of these things and potentially moving ahead with something new, because the aces oftentimes mean something new, right? This energy is all about new ideas, but things are being kind of held up and held back. So I would say this is the season where things could potentially be all about new ideas and new communications and talking through issues. But I feel like your natural tendency is going to be to slow things down maybe more than they need to be. So whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, of course, will indicate kind of where that's coming about. But I would really see this as a warning and just make sure that you are open to communication, new ideas, and not be too stubborn or closed-minded in the way that you're thinking about things. All right, moving on to Gemini. All right, Gemini, we have the Seven of Staffs. Seven of Staffs. So this could be a season for you to really stand up for things that you believe in, fight for those things that you feel are right. It's a very active card. You can see that there's definitely some conflict here. And oftentimes the conflict that we're seeing is going to deal with things that you're passionate about, or could potentially deal with projects you're working on, or even your work. So whether this is your sun, moon, or rising is going to help you figure out kind of what area of life you're talking about here. But anytime I see this particular card, I think about that idea of kind of being willing to stand up for what you believe in and fight off those other people that might be coming at you with disagreement. Having disagreement and discussion is not always bad, but it's important for you to be able to stand your ground. So that would be my recommendation for you, Gemini. All right, moving on to Cancer. What do we have for you? Cancer, Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords. Look at this guy. What a perilous situation he is in. All right, and so what I would say, Cancer, for you, you may be finding yourself in a situation this season, this Taurus season, where you feel as though there's just a lot, well, it could be literally hanging over you. It's a very interesting kind of visual there. Or you feel like there's just a lot of stress and pressure on you. Whether this is your sun, moon, or rising is going to help you figure out kind of where this is. But I would, if I was this guy, the thing that I would want to do would be take down some of these swords. Get some of these excess things out of there. So for many of you, you're dealing with a lot of stress or pressure simply because there are too many things on your plate or too many things that you're having to deal with. So my suggestion for you would be to spend this season reevaluating what you have going on in your life and see if there's anything that you can, I guess, remove, right? So that it's not hanging over you, so to speak. Okay, moving on to Leos. Leo, fire sign, gets a fiery card. All right, so we have the Five of wands, staffs. Okay, I always forget what they call them here. But the Five of Staffs for you. So Leo, whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, that area of your life is all about dynamic fire energy. And what I'm seeing here is the possibility that you might be taking things perhaps a bit too far or be pushing too hard for your ideas. So I would just be very careful and make sure that you're not getting in arguments when things maybe don't need to become arguments. What I might consider is the value of debate and the value of sort of bouncing your ideas off of other people. And if this is something more internal, then that would be bouncing ideas off of yourself or considering things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily consider. So there is definitely a communal type of feel to this energy. It's very fiery though in your position here. So I would say be wary of the tendency to fight and argue and think more about debate and listen and recognition. All right, moving on to Virgo. Virgo, all right, we have the Nine of Staffs. All right, so Nine of Staffs for you, Virgo. Virgo, I know oftentimes, one of the things, and whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, is going to kind of see how it lands for you. Oftentimes, Virgos, you spend a lot of time caring for other people or focusing on other people or trying to get things organized, especially with other people as well. And you can see that, we have this wolf, or this dog who, I don't know which one it is, but he's sort of gotten himself into a fire and is kind of looking around like, how in the heck did I get here? So this might be a season where you look around and find out that you have kind of boxed yourself in, so to speak, with all the different sort of threads that you have going on out there. It can feel pretty darn good to know that you have a lot of stuff going on until it starts pushing on you too hard. So I guess this is kind of a warning. It's okay to have a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak, but make sure that they're not overwhelming you. Make sure that you have a good handle on them all. And that would be my message for you. All right, moving to Libra. Libra, we have the Eight of Swords. Eight of Swords. This is interesting, guys. We're seeing a lot of fire and a lot of swords. So whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, guys, is going to determine how this is impacting you and kind of what you're seeing. But I am seeing for you during a lot of Taurus season, you can see here, he's got a stake in the ground. Okay, and he's stuck. These swords right here are barriers. So you need to ask yourself during this season, what barriers do you have in place in regards to people that you're talking to or media that you're consuming, books that you're reading, anything along those lines, that information that is coming into your life? How are those things impacting you and maybe tying you down to a particular idea or a particular way of thinking? Now, whether this is your sun, moon, or rising is going to kind of tell you where to focus this kind of energy, but keep that in mind. Sometimes understanding better where these ideas are coming from is enough to help you kind of extradite yourself from some of those issues. All right, moving on to Scorpio. Scorpio, the sun actually right now is opposite in the sky from the area that is Scorpio. So if this is your sun, moon, or rising, you might find that that area of your life, there's a bit more tension, push and pull during this time of year, every year for you. So just keep that in mind. And we have the Fool, but we have the Fool reversed. Okay, so this is a time of year for you as you move into Taurus season. I would say this is going to be a good time of year for you to, be excited about new things, be willing to step out, but also double check yourself. The Fool can be this really exciting card, willing to, go on grand adventures or step out with new ideas, be willing to start new things or do new things. But when it is reversed, what I'm getting here today is this idea of just a warning, just, hey, measure twice, cut once, look twice before you cross, just that idea of thinking about things doubly before making any sort of decisions. And that's actually will really work for you well during this season. There's just an opportunity for you to make some missteps. I think likely because your head and your heart might be kind of running into each other during this time of year and causing some issues in that way. All right, moving on to Sagittarius. All right, Sag, we have 5 of Vessels, but it is reversed. So this is a time, some of you are going to walk into Taurus season and feel like a big weight is coming off your shoulders, or you're going to feel that throughout this season. As things are sort of moving ahead, you're going to feel as though throughout much of this season that there's a big weight coming off your shoulders and that you're able to move on past something. Now, whatever that something is going to be strongly influenced by your sun, moon, or rising. Which one is this? Is Sag your sun, moon, or rising? And that's going to give a good indicator of where in your life this particular thing is coming through. But for some of you, this lightening of the load will come almost immediately as we move into Taurus season. For others, it's going to be sort of this progression that happens throughout the season. But it is definitely a time for moving on and a time for healing, which I think is fantastic. All right, moving to Capricorn, another fantastic earthy sign during an earthy season, and we get strength. Should not be surprised here. Capricorns, you have this, obviously you're sharing that earth sign with the Taurus season right now. So I think the wonderful situation for you is that you're actually able to tap into some things. Capricorns just tend to be a bit more active in the earth energy than Taurans do. So what I am getting from you, and this is if you're sun, moon, or rising, whichever one this is going to really indicate what you need to be thinking about. This is asking you to draw on your internal strength and on those things that you have had occurring in the last, I would say 30 days, 60 days. How have the things that you have experienced set you up to be more successful today? And I'm seeing things mostly in the most recent time period, like I said, about a month or two, but really be willing to tap into and draw on that internal strength that you have. Whether that means you are setting yourself up for a period of growth, or this is going to be a season where you're going to have some things that are going to be difficult, always go back kind of to that center. That's what that is asking for you to do. All right, moving on to Aquarius. And if you have Aquarius in your sun, moon, or rising, this could be a little bit difficult for you. Taurus and Aquarius sit square in the sky, so the sun is sitting square to your sign, which could indicate a bit of difficulty every year for you this time of year. And we have the 6 of Coins. So this card to me always comes off as being one of give and take, right? So in it you can see you have one young child handing a coin to another young child, and there's this idea of giving, but there's also this idea of receiving. And with this card, I always get this feeling, or most of the time get this feeling of, whatever you are taking or whatever you are giving, there's always a price for that. So as you're moving through Taurus season, think about the transactions that you're having, whether that's money, whether that's talking in discussions, whether that's exchange of time. the time that you're spending with friends. Everything has a price. It doesn't have to have a dollar amount attached to it, right? Think about the cost of the things that you're moving through. Think about the cost of the things that you are doing on the day-to-day. Think about your time management. Think about your money management. Think about your friends and those people that you want to keep in your life that are worth it and not worth it for you to continue to associate with. Whether this is your sun, moon, or rising is going to be a really good indication of where you want to focus on that energy. But that is definitely what I would consider that sort of transactional nature of that particular card. Oh my, okay. All right, moving on to Pisces. Pisces, what do we get? Judgment. Wow. So this card, and I'm sorry, it kind of cracks me up because when I see this card, it makes me think an awful lot of where Pisces sits in the zodiac in general. But what a beautiful card. I love the wings on this angel up here. Just look at the colors in that. All right, so guys, Taurus season for you, and whether this is your sun, moon, or rising, think about this energy sort of applying to that area of your life. But judgment is all about kind of that rising up, that changing, that moving into something new and different. That idea that you have out of death or out of destruction of something or moving on from something, have new life or new creation. And I think you can really see that in two ways here. You can see that with the skull and the wheat, but you can also see that with, the horn blowing and these two people sort of rising up out of these graves. So for you, I want you to think about how can you move on? How can you ascend? How can you become better than you once were? This is going to be a season for you really to do that. If that means that you have to sit down and meditate or journal on it or just think about it on your morning commute, consider all of these things. How can you make yourself better than you once were? Specifically looking at if this is your sun, moon, or rising card. Okay, so that is what I have for each of the signs. I'm going to go ahead and clear the table, and then we're going to jump into the oracle reading. So on to the second part of the reading. So no matter what signs you are following, this is the part where you can tap into your intuition and get a little bit more guidance for this season. Your intuition is going to really play a big part. So I'm going to ask that you go ahead, slow your breathing, kind of get into that fuzzy headspace. And I'm going to ask you to tap into your intuition here in just a quick minute. So overall, guys, the reading I thought was interesting. There was a lot of fiery energy and a lot of swords energy, which to me, I think kind of is I guess, just very interesting to see in the season of Taurus. So I actually see quite a bit of action and even conflict for many of you kind of going into this next season, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how you manage that. So let me know your thoughts down below. And if you have not subscribed, please do so. You want to make sure you're not missing the month ahead readings. On top of everything else, it can really help weave a really strong understanding of the weeks ahead for you. So, all right. Hopefully you have tuned in, you have turned on your intuition, and I just have a few cards here, and what I'm going to ask you to do is just take a look at the three cards that I have here. And I'm going to ask that you just take a deep breath in. Okay. And make a decision on which one of these cards you're going to choose. So card 1, card 2, and card 3. If you chose card 1, then this oracle card has a message for your head. If you chose 2, then it has a message for your spirit. And if you chose 3, it has a message for your heart. So let's see what we get, this last little bit of guidance here. And we get turtle spirit. This idea of slow and steady wins the race, which is hilarious for Taurus season. I think most Taurans would agree with this idea. So I think this is a reminder for many of us that, if you know what it is that you're going to, then taking time to get there and moving there in a very steady manner is an excellent way to get there. Now, please note that turtle spirit knows exactly where he's going. You know, he's just not ambling along randomly. You know, if you're in a race, there is a finish line and you know where that is. So when we talk about this idea of slow and steady wins the race, it is an understanding that not only are you continuing to move forward no matter what, but you also know where you are going. So make sure that those two things are true for you as you're moving into this season. And that is it for this Tarotscope. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm so happy that you're here. Let me know down below what signs you're following and give a thumbs up. It really helps the channel quite a bit. I will absolutely see you next time. Have a great Taurus season.